Good morning, namaskar.
Good morning. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
So, first of all, this is completely blessed to be able to speak with you today. Um, I work for NBC News, but along with me, as you may have heard, we're doing this in association with the podcast, The Philosophy of Now. Yeah, let's start. I'd like to ask you, first of all, congratulating you. I know it's a year ago, but you did just receive your Padma Bhushan, so
Thanks to COVID.
congratulations. So actually, in regards to that, looking back at your journey of all your, along with Satsang Foundation, your own journey into spirituality, how do you define success? For a typical person, winning a prize, an award like this is success. But when we have to speak of samsara or, Vyavharik life, what is success for you?
In the material sense or in my sense, as I think?
In your sense. In your sense, yeah.
Well, from my point of view, many years ago, when I touched the core of my being, all success was done. There's nothing more to be done. You understand? This Padma was the inner Padma, which is the lotus, opened long ago. Mm. Well, if it's acknowledged now by the government, it's wonderful. I thank everybody for that. But the lotus opened long ago. And the good news is this lotus has the potential to open in all, not just one person. So for me, my success would, if you want to call it, success in the normal usage of the term, for me, success would define reaching a state of complete satisfaction, tranquility, and bliss, independent of anything else, inside or outside. Uh, I mean, this is also the aim of all the great philosophies in India, at least in the what we call the uh, different darsanas of Indian philosophy. The very word darsana, which when you say, normally we say this philosophy, this kind of philosophy, Advaita, Vedanta, but it's not philosophy. This is the English word used. The word used in Sanskrit is darshana. Vedanta darshana, Sankhya darshana, Yoga darshana. You see? So, Nyaya darshana. So, the word darshana actually means to realize face to face, to have darshan. Right. See? So, uh, in this country, India, I'm talking about, philosophy is not about philosophizing, it's about finding your true self, to have the darshan of the inner self. So I think that if you call that success, uh, irrespective of other things, whether you have cars or houses or whatever, I think for me that success happened with the blessings of Maheshwarnath Babaji and Sri Guru Babaji, and with a little bit of hard work. I think I touched that long ago.
Mm-hmm. So how do you see this award, for example, or any of these small milestones that you may reach? How do you view them?
I view this as one, that people in general and also people in power are beginning to recognize this, part one. Because for many years I did not use the visual media or the, now it all really started with COVID because there was no other way. So I was quietly living in Madnapalli, nobody knew. I was carrying on with my life. So now, when it is recognized and when everybody comes to know about it, I feel a satisfaction that people really are interested in this kind of development. And the corollary to this development is that you want to do good to others. So a lot of charitable work is going on. It's not done to advertise, but it's done as an flowing out of what you feel inside, all embracing, you know. So, from the point of view of the government of India, I would thank the President Rashtrapati ji, the Prime Minister, for and others who have kind of evaluated what I have been doing and given me this award. And I am so glad that this award is called Padma Award because it resonates with the inner lotus, you know. And that's a wonderful thing. As far as the Prime Minister is concerned, I've been known him for years. So I think he knows what I do. I'm not into any political setup or party or anything, but
Right.
I think all these people, including Rashtrapati, they know that. So I'm okay with it. I don't want to feel very kind of puffed up with pride on this, but I'm thankful for this. What I noticed during these Padma Awards was that even people who are not elite, who are unknown, who are doing a lot of work in their field, uh, have been given awards for the last few years. This is a very significant thing. A lady who is transgender, who has been working with uh, trying to make people understand that they are not some kind of outcasts,
Right.
got a Padma Shri this time. There are people, there's a poor man who runs a school in a mosque because there is nobody else around where there are any schools for the children. He came wearing a dhoti and a shirt, white shirt. He got a Padma Shri. So
Wow.
I find that over these few years of, I don't want to say this garment or diagram, but during these few years, those who really need it, I mean, those who really deserve it, have been given this award, which is a big thing because then people, now these people are recognized. They can do their work better.
Right.
You see that? So
Definitely.
I think the age of awarding the Padma Awards to only the elite and is gone. People who deserve it are getting the award. I'm not talking about myself, please. I may deserve, I may not deserve, but I'm talking about people I saw. And they were themselves so moved because they didn't expect this to happen.
Right.
Uh, in the last year or so, as you said, due to COVID, you have been using the visual platform to kind of reach out to mass audiences, and particularly even after, the autobiography is a brilliant piece that is years older than COVID, but people of the West might have. Sorry, go ahead.
Ah, ah. So you know why? I said sometime back, I'm sorry to interfere, I'll just clarify. I said some time back that I was leading a quiet life in Madanapalli, which is a laid back little town far away from anything else. It was fine. This happened only till I wrote my autobiography. The moment I wrote my autobiography and it came out and people started reading, that was over. That period, that phase was over. Even before COVID, as you said. You're right. After the autobiography came out, the circus started. You know what I mean? So then, but I have to be careful to make sure that I'm the same person I was before. I don't know if you get what I mean.
No, absolutely.
So you were
From
saying
listening to
something.
your life.
Sorry, you were saying something. Sorry, I interfered.
No,
Interfered.
I was actually saying something along the lines of what you had just mentioned. So, in reading the autobiography and even watching the last year and a half of Western audience tuning in to some of your lectures and thoughts, which were already existent.
Yes.
One thing that's kind of obviously noticeable is that some of your now like broadcasted lecturing has a lot to do with the relationship between yoga psychology and science, particularly because Western audience is now tuning in to your visual platform. So
Right.
one thing I wanted to ask was something that a question has been kind of alluded to in some of your lectures and writings, but modern young people always have this struggle dealing with spirituality and free will, because young people have this like clinging to freedom and their own free will. But when you read any real esoteric text, you end up understanding that some will argue free will is an illusion. So could you comment on this statement here? Free will is there to realize you never had any.
Well, we have free will. Let me put it this way. Look, there are certain things which we cannot change. It's difficult. Like we are today, forget about the Atman, different subject altogether. The young people will take quite some time to come to the Atman. They need to, it's a journey, it's a long journey before they could even accept the existence of the Atman. I'm talking about those who say we are modern, therefore we don't believe in all that, that kind of. There are some who do, otherwise you young people won't be sitting before me. So, today biologically we are the result of 3 million years of genetic evolution. Various permutations and combinations today.
Right.
Nobody can change that. Forget about past lives. Nobody can change that. However, because there are these permutations and combinations of 3 million years of genetic evolution, there may be hidden talents potentially sitting there in every human being, which we don't normally realize, because when we, in this life, in the present life which we have, most people only think of this life, they don't think of anything else. We are born in a certain situation from a certain couple, parents, in a certain background, and therefore we are molded accordingly. However, there is one thing in which there is complete free will, which is to discover your true self. Nobody wants to discover the true self, but if I say to find happiness, that is there in everybody. Even if a person says, I don't believe in free will, it's all this. Why is he saying that? Because he likes to settle down and be happy about it. Maybe a theory, right or wrong, we don't know. We can't say at the moment, but everybody searches for this happiness in some way. Or also, everybody wants to expand. The main reason why young people say free will, we don't want, is because they want to expand and grow and don't want to get confined to something because it's so distant, so you have to be like this. This is the reason. I hope you understand what. So, what I am trying to say is that while certain conditions are there which we cannot change, there is also a gap there where there is free will. Now, this free will is the tendency in all human beings to move towards fulfillment, to growth, to happiness, and people like to go there and they want to do things themselves to reach there. This is what, and if by continuous work, if there is failure, then you can say perhaps it was not destined to, but it should not become an excuse in the first place to start looking for it. See what happens then? What happens then? We say everything is destined and I don't, it doesn't work that way. I know this myself. Later on you might figure out that due to various reasons, you may call it destiny if you like, certain things happened to me. But when I started out, I had no such idea. I was not going to sit down lazy and allow destiny to do its work. I was working towards it. I ran away from home because I felt I was like Now I could have sat in and say, if I am destined to find self-realization, I'll find it here in Trivandrum. No. I said, I must get out of here. Later on, after touching something where I could gain access to certain past memories and influences in my brain, I came to realize that certain things, there was a blueprint. But when I started out, I did not know. If I had thought about that blueprint, I would not have started off. I would have sat at home. But for the person who believes completely in free will, even that there is an argument. You went because it was destined. But, well, we can go endlessly on this, but it's like which came first, the egg or the hen. But from my understanding, while yes, we should accept that there are some limitations and some blueprints, we should also understand we still have a free will to move, especially when we want to find fulfillment, growth and happiness, which unfortunately people search for in the outside world. If only they could turn in. Now to turn in, everybody has a right and everybody has a free will to do that. You see the wonderful statement in the Upanishad, Purnamada Purnamidam. That is complete, which means the source from which we have come. The good news is Purnamidam, this is also complete. But we feel incomplete, and this is why we try to become complete. The whole world is like that, not only spiritual world. I feel I don't have something, so I want to fill it, right? Which means I am trying to become complete, recognizing that I am incomplete. The Upanishad says, in your true essence, you are complete. So if you turn around and look, you find that what you are progressing towards is truly the inner essence of your being. Again, if you say that there is some element of destiny, well, I can't say no, because here we are sitting, four of us together facing each other. It was not planned, so there may be some plan, we don't know. But having sat here, we have a free will to discuss these matters and figure out, right?
Right.
So that's my thought about this matter.
Understood.
So moving on to the next topic, we wanted to ask a little bit, in light of your latest book, Yoga Also for the Godless. While reading that, it caused some confusion for me, and like knowing that Sankhya philosophy is a atheistic philosophy inherently, but growing up in a completely different in a completely different paradigm. Can you speak about yoga with God and yoga without God, and how the two can coexist without contradicting each other?
Listen, you must remember that the title of the book is Yoga Also for the Godless, not for the godless. Please, the title is Yoga Also for the Godless. So my intention in writing this book, apart from the philosophical, we'll come to that, is that there are many people who come to you and go to various places and want to learn yoga. They are told that if you have to learn yoga, you have to go and lick the feet of the teacher, right? Or chant this, which is considered to be part of a certain denomination. They are discouraged by it. They stop practicing yoga. Now, yoga is a gift given to the world from this land of ours, India. It's a precious gift given. And if people are put off because of the religious connotations that are usually attached, sometimes for those who want to exploit others, because when the guru becomes most important, you have to continue holding his feet, then you cannot become independent. And they don't want you to be independent. If you become independent, then what is the function of the Guru? It's over. You will not sign checkbooks for him. So, sorry. So, the main intention was to take yoga without referring to denominational definitions, so that people will start practicing yoga, looking into yoga, and then find out for themselves if there is God or not. It's not to deny anything, it's also meant for young people, modern people. This was the intention. Now, if you ask me, can yoga be done by those who have no belief system? Yes. But when Sankhya, you said atheistic philosophy. Now the atheist, the word as defined in English is different from the definition in Sankhya. This is something we note. Unfortunately, since we have been educated in the English system, all the words have acquired their own meanings. Like atheist means one who does not believe in God. In fact, there are people who don't know the difference between an atheist and an agnostic. An atheist is one who denies God. Note, whether God exists or not, he doesn't know, he denies God. Okay, and an agnostic is one who says, okay, maybe there is God, but I have nothing to do with it. These are two words. Now, both these words from the ancient Sanskrit texts, if you look, Sankhya for instance, although it does not believe in a creator God, creator like someone sitting, which is highly exaggerated in the Semitic religions, who is sitting up in some workshop modeling human beings, throwing them down, and then throwing the same human being which you manufacture into, then you punish them because they are not doing good, and then you reward them because they are praising you all the time. And this God is denied by Sankhya. But Ishwara is a word used very much in Sankhya. And this Ishwara is a perfected Purusha, which means when in true essence, when the mind has become absolutely quiet, chitta vrittis are all removed, as yoga is 90% derived from Sankhya. What happens then is then one realizes that one is Purusha. When you say Purusha, it doesn't mean a male, okay? Purusha means the inner core of one's being. It's not male that way. Male or female, you can't say this. Purusha is not a word which distinguishes sex or gender. It means the essence of being. That essence of being, when somebody has found, he has actually touched Ishvara. But it's not a creator God. So, a human being who has touched Ishvara, according to Sankhya, touched the Purusha, understood that his true essence, the Purusha, is only, nothing else remains, that person also acquires the quality of Ishvara, because Ishvara is pure primordial Purusha. So, you see this, it's not the word used in English for atheist, which means there is nothing. There is something, but that something is not according to our worldly definitions. That's what it means. In fact, that resonates also in Vedanta, in the darshana called Vedanta. There is a beautiful Vedantic text in which it says, that which the eye cannot see, yat chakshusha na pashyati, yana chakshumshi pakshati, because of which the eye is able to see, tadeva brahmatvam vidhi, understand that alone is the supreme Brahman, nedam yad idam upasate, nothing that you worship here. This is not yoga or Sankhya, this is the Kena Upanishad, one of the 11 principal Upanishads. So the dhara or the thread is already there, However, there are powers of nature which have their own energies, they have their own, they have been deified, and they do have a capacity to change things. They have a capacity to listen to your deep prayers. But if you are searching for the truth, all that does not matter. That's what I wanted people to understand when I wrote Yoga for. If you read the introduction carefully, you will see this is what I've said. Plus, Yoga, Sankhya hardly uses the word Ishvara. Patanjali uses the word Ishvara. He says, the yoga which I teach is Swadhyaya, self-study, and Ishvara Pranidhanani. That means, or Ishvara Pranidhanatva. Tva is added also because there are other things involved. It means also contemplation on the Ishvara. So there need not be, see, this is one great thing about the the Hindu way of life and the Hindu philosophy is that you can think in different ways. You can even deny the creator, but you can still embrace it. And if you notice, there is no clear distinction between Satan and God as it is there in the Semitic religions. There is no dark black and white line out there. Some asuras are good people. Prahalada was an asura. You see, Ravana was a Rakshasa, but Valmiki says he attained moksha because hating Rama, he always thought of Rama. See, this is a very advanced system. It's not that there are many grey areas. It's not just that black and white. There is devil which is completely evil, no hope, and there is God who is clean, and there is no. In every human being there is an element of asura, rakshasa, deva and rishi. What you tap and where you reach is your problem, my problem. So there is no need for you to get into confusion. If you are if you believe in a God and you have been brought up in those circumstances, that doesn't mean you are not a yogi. All I am saying is, even if you don't have that, you can still go into yoga. That's all I wanted to say. I wanted to offer it to everybody.
I guess I would like to put in a question that we are writing specifically for NBC News while we're asking you a bunch of other questions. And this is again related to a lot of what we're talking about. Especially during the pandemic, we saw a lot of people facing not only physical health problems, but also mental health problems and emotional well-being issues. And when you see the physical aspects, the asanas of yoga, you can see clear improvements in people's lifestyle.
100%.
When it comes to the emotional and the mental psyche aspects of it, they're very individual based, right? So it's not, the external can't really see it. And so my question kind of is, what are the mental health, the emotional well-being benefits of doing yoga and meditation? Yeah.
First, no, meditation is also part of yoga.
Right. Yeah.
Can't separate. What we should look at carefully is that yoga is not merely physical exercises. There are other kinds of physical exercises, gymnastics and so on, which are good for the body. But yoga, why is yoga different? Because yoga, while it also helps the body to maintain its health levels and follows the principle that with a healthy body you can also acquire a healthy mind. Imagine a suffering person cannot even meditate. So, a healthy body also can gradually develop into a healthy mind. The main difference between ordinary physical exercise and yoga is that yoga deals first, of course, physiologically there is the system of pranayam. We will come to that later. Yoga deals with the endocrine system of glands, the ductless glands which are in the human body. Everybody has them. You know, when I say I am in a good mood, what happens is a little bit of serotonin has been released on command from the pituitary gland into our system. Serotonin, or a little amount of dopamine, which too much you might see illusions. So they feel goodness factor, I feel good. Now, yoga is designed, yoga's breathing as well as the techniques are designed for the yogi to be able to release these hormones from the endocrine glands at will. The yogi can adjust his mood through. Now, I will give you one example. If you are a person who is continuously getting angry, and if you decide that I need to get rid of it, yeah, that is the first step. I have to decide this is not good for me. It is not doing anything. The first step, of course, is that. Without that, the second step won't work. So, I decide. Now, I can give you an asana which will help you to get rid of it. First, you have taken the decision, then Malsyasana. Now, what happens in Malsyasana? Malsyasana is basically you sit in Padmasana and then you go backwards and fall. I mean, you lie down in Padmasana, curve your back and hold your toes with your hands stretched. It gives an excellent massage to your adrenal glands. And if you continue to do this regularly, after a month you will realize that you have better hold of anger than before. Why? Because the adrenaline pumping system has been nicely controlled. What happens when you are angry? Adrenaline is pumped into the bloodstream. Now, here that massage, that muscle relaxation and tightening here helps to control this so that it is not too much, there is no excess. All problems are because of excess or not at all, and yoga is the middle path. Krishna says that beautifully in the Gita to Arjuna. He says, this yoga is not for him who eats too much or eats too little or sleeps too much or sleeps too little. It's this one. Now you do the Sarvangasana. What happens in Sarvangasana? There is a good blood flow into your brain. Because normally we are always with the head up and feet down. When you sleep, of course, you lie down, but still it is halfway. The reverse of standing on your feet is standing on your head. So, when you do Sarvangasana, or if you are good at Shirsasana, which is not so easy to do, what happens is the circulation of blood is more in this system. Then the pineal gland and the pituitary gland get maximum functioning. And these are the master glands that control your whole mind. So, the mind also becomes quiet. You know, when people are agitated, they go and have a drink, alcohol. Why? Because the central nervous system is depressed for a while, so you are not agitated. Here, instead of that, you are actually getting your central nervous system in perfect shape, so that there is no more agitation in the mind. This I am talking about the physiological aspect. Plus, when you do pranayam, you fill your lungs with oxygen. And in Kriya Yoga, all your cells are filled with oxygen. So, automatically it is a mood enhancer. Okay. Having said that, there are people with devotional tendencies who have great devotion to God, whatever deity they worship. Now, for such people, you will find even after this COVID and post-COVID, many people who have faith in such in God or a divine being have suffered less mentally than others. Because when you have no belief, you have nothing to cling to. When you are in a desperate state, you don't know what to do. So, therefore, Bhakti Yoga is also very important. Nothing is mechanical, feeling is very important. So, if you have deep in your heart the feeling that there is a blessed being who looks after me and who actually, lucky for me, resides in my own heart, Antaryami, then the mind gets completely calm, quiet, tranquil and peaceful. When the mind becomes peaceful, when there is wellness of mind, the recovery of the body is also accelerated. Because then the cells begin to work better. They are filled with hope and faith. Don't think that the cells are in, they are, every cell has an intelligence in itself. If you notice, when a disease comes, the white blood corpuscles suddenly begin to act. When a foreign thing tries to enter the cell puts up a defense. So even an independent little cell has its own mechanisms. Although in our human system they are all coordinated by the Sahasrara, as we call in yoga, the Sahasrara.
I was just going off of how you'd mentioned the devotional, some people might have the devotional samskaras and instinct. So is there an ontological and metaphysical difference between believing something is fruits of karma versus the blessing of Ishwar? Or is it just a matter of perspective?
It's a matter of perspective. It's a matter of perspective, how you look at it. See, ultimately that's what matters to you, I as an individual, how I look at it. But it goes without saying, as far as I am concerned, that I personally have not a belief, an understanding. Because when you say belief, you are not sure. You don't have to believe that the sun rises and sets every day. No? When you say I believe the sun rises and sets, which means I don't know, perhaps it does. But when I say yes, the sun, so I am saying not belief but understanding. That's what I meant. I have an understanding that there is a divine energy, intelligent divine energy. It's much more intelligent than all our intelligences put together, which can be tapped by human beings because of the fortunate fact that a spark of that divine energy resides in the core of every human being's consciousness. Which is why in Vedanta they said, I am Atma Brahma, my Atman is Brahman. So, it's whether you want to look at it as a manifestation of your own inner being or the Supreme Being which is all pervading, it's your perspective. Different modes of philosophy in India, different darsanas have looked at it in different ways. But like the Rigveda said 2000 years ago, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vedanti, there is only one truth. The wise have called it by different names.
Is regarding meditation, and if practiced enough, I guess the question is meditation just a skill? And if practiced enough, can one become an adept meditator and reach a higher state of consciousness, but not become a better human being?
No.
Is that possible?
No, not possible. The wonderful thing about this is that more you meditate, whatever be the mode of meditation, and the more deeper you go into your inner self, you also become parallelly a better human being. If this is not happening, then there's something not okay.
Okay,
It's
so then
not.
what would you say about like certain, stories that we hear about certain gurus who
Let's
are
not comment on this, please.
because it
Can we?
seems you can also become very manipulative.
Yes,
So
true.
I guess that's along, kind of along the
Yes,
lines,
yes.
because
You
you
have
become more
to.
perceptive to what someone is thinking. So can you become
Oh,
dangerous?
wait a minute. Wait a minute. You may be more perceptive to what others are thinking, but if there is even a small iota of causing harm or injury to others, then you are not moving on the spiritual path. It's not possible. I don't think so. Because you're moving towards the essence of all compassion. You're moving towards the essence of all goodness. You recognize the same God who sits in your heart in others. So you cannot be, even if you have the skill to do it, create problems for others. If that's happening, then if it's happening to me, I should correct myself. If I see it happening in somebody else, I should run away from that person. There's no two ways on this. Because, look, you see the spark of the divine in you, you also see it in others. Yeah. Now, having said this, I must say that some people are not mature enough to understand actions of others. So therefore, for some people it may appear that the action taken by someone is doesn't seem to be kind. But that's because they haven't seen the whole perspective. They're looking at a small little point and they don't see what's being done. But believe me, a person who is a real meditator, who has at least stepped beyond a certain boundaries, can never be cruel, can never intentionally cause harm to anybody, or glorify himself. This is not possible. I don't think it's possible. If you want me to give you an example, contemporary times, there is nobody like that now. Ramana Maharshi lived in Tiruvannamalai. You see, just look closely at his life. The Paramachari of Kanchipuram, I don't know when he passed away. You look at his life, you'll see the man had such reach and such universal outlook and such uncanny understanding of other people's lives, but never had any intention of either taking anything from somebody or causing harm to somebody. I know this because I know of families, very old families who have gone there, and someone said this is his name is Ravindran. He was 99 years old or something like that. See, he would sit there and he would say, Ravindran, he said, I think your father came to me 20 years ago and your grandfather are you not Raghavendra Iyer's grandson? Nobody knows, you see, but said in all sweetness and understanding that I know you, but I am going to help you, not to acquire something from them.
Right.
You see, so I think I kind of answered your question.
Yeah.
We like to, as I said, ultimately ask you this one question, which is all the other questions were meant to kind of lead us to this one, which is what we call the philosophy of now, which for us means that life mantra that you live by, not necessarily something that, from my past, nothing for my future, but in your every present moment. So in a sense, what we're trying to meditate on when we say we're trying to live in the present moment, what is that mantra? And I guess when that mantra, not only something that is during your say, monk life, but also during your societal and your family life, your day-to-day life, what would you say is that one thing that
One
you like
thing,
to, if you
one
could pick
thing,
one, yeah.
recognize divinity in all living beings, especially in human beings. One mantra. How they are, what they are, is not my problem.
Is that
This is living in the present, actually.
Right. And how do you try to, I guess, manifest that in your day-to-day, would you say?
So that when you deal with others, deal with the understanding that you are dealing with divinity, although that guy hasn't discovered it yet. So you don't have any bad intentions there. You may discipline somebody if necessary, but you would know that, this guy hasn't found out. When he finds out, he is himself his own discipline. Not disciple, discipline. So I think that's, since you asked me one word, recognize the divinity in all human beings. And therefore, forgive their shortcomings. That's the best way to live. I think it's time now.
Yes, it is. It is.
Although I enjoyed the interaction, yes, I must admit, but this is time.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you so much. We really, really do appreciate it. But yeah, thank you again.
Thanks. Namaskar, Hari Om.